Howdy, welcome back to the Addicted Motors YouTube channel. My name is Troy. We're not going to talk about Land Rovers at all today. We're going to talk about Mercedes. Now, I've been playing with cars for, I don't know, 20 so years at this point in time in my life. And there's one thing I've never done. And I've lifted things, I've modified things slightly, but I've never lowered a car. I've never really had a car that I wanted to lower or add any type of stance or presence to until now. Now, my Project C126, this is my California spec or import W126 or C126 Coupe that I've had for over a year now, and I've done a lot of work to it to just kind of get it back up to a driving spec. But if you can see now, I've done some things to it. I've lowered it. Now, I didn't really go all Stance Nation or anything. I got the factory H&R lowering springs, took about an inch and a half out of it. Also added new shocks to it. The old ones are actually fine, and they were old, but had very good compression and whatnot. I just figured while I'm in there, I'm taking them off, so I might as well redo the whole feel of it. And here's how she sits, and I think it's absolutely perfect. Again, obviously the guys at H&R know what they're doing. I still have full range of motion, and it just gives it a little bit of front end rake. Obviously, it'd be better if I had some Euro lights and bumpers, but right there is exactly how I think these cars should sit, and it's about perfect. I still have enough actual clearance to kind of drive it around normally. I should probably need an alignment and whatnot after that, but I think the car has a lot more presence now, and I'm pretty satisfied with how it all turned out. Now, normally I do these kind of things myself. I've done spring replacement a lot on Land Rovers and other vehicles, but this thing, I didn't feel like doing it. Matt had it up on the lift, and it was fighting him even. The stock springs are big. You need a special compressor, and you really had to kind of detach some other steering components to even kind of fit them in there. So it took them a while, honestly, and a couple people to kind of wrangle and pull the suspension down and get everything sorted. So not really the thing you want to do in your driveway. I did look it up, but it just didn't seem like it was worth my time, and obviously risk of injury and damage really wasn't worth it. So we paid a guy to make it look cool. But that really wasn't even the main thing that I wanted done, because I've been kind of putting money into this car for a while now. The main thing we did was replace the center support bearing, the front and rear gibos, and all the differential and transmission mounts and whatnot, because I had a little bit of vibration on acceleration from the transmission tunnel, and obviously after 187,000 miles, all those things were shot. So those have been replaced too. So what we're doing now is take it on the road, give it a first test drive. Tires a little bit flat spot. We'll get through that and see how much these changes have really improved or added to the car's feel. Now, again, one of the other reasons I've kind of held off doing these modifications or fixes, obviously they're expensive and it costs money, but the second reason is I was on the fence about whether or not I was keeping this car, and I decided that I kind of have to keep it unless something better or something comes up in some type of trade. I think that the C126 is an incredible value. I mean, really, you're buying for like $15,000 to $20,000 the flagship model of Mercedes at the time, which is interesting because, you know, the equivalent of other manufacturers from a sports coupe or luxury coupe standpoint is more, right? This was the equivalent of the, BMW 850 or, a GT3. I mean, obviously not from a performance standpoint, but from an overall cost flagship model. This was the big expensive one, and the fact that they're still not too expensive, it definitely, to me, makes it a bit of a value. And they didn't make a whole lot of them. I don't know what the production numbers are, but you don't see them that often. And I think it's something worth holding on to. And what gives this car a value for me personally is it's not rusty. I bought this car sight unseen from a dealer auction in California. And after casually looking for, literally since high school, right? My first car was a W126 420 SEL, and I was on Ben's World, 15 years ago or whatever, trying to find Euro parts and doing that whole, old Mercedes thing. And obviously I couldn't afford an SEC then. And I never wanted to overpay for one because I still feel like you can get them at a decent price. And I did get it for a decent price, but it had enough things that were not wrong with it, but that needed to be addressed, that would have kind of mechanically totaled it if you didn't do the work yourself. I've replaced the radiator. That was kind of my fault. The thermostat, the front shocks, pretty much the whole fuel system, from like the EHA valve, cap and rotor, plugs, oil, obviously coolant, fuel pump, fuel pressure regulator, all the little things that could contribute to a drivability issue, or that would just kind of make the car stumble or whatnot. I'm sure there's other things that I've done that I can't remember at this point that made a big mess in my driveway. So again, it's just a lot of little things that just make the car just a little bit more normal. But if I would have to refresh all that stuff, or pay someone to do that, it would just make this thing completely not viable for personal consumption, I guess. But so far, how is it driving? Man, with these springs, the front end just feels a little bit tighter. And obviously this car is never going to be a sports car or handle anywhere near as good as a an E30 or an E36 of the time period. But this did firm it up a little bit, and the steering is a little bit more precise. I don't think I needed an alignment. I think the alignment might have been a little bit off before, but adding those H&R lowering springs, man, I think it did wonders. Also, the lack of driveline lash now from the new donuts, whatever you want to call them, the center support bearing, and all those diff mounts and transmission mounts really help. I mean, everything on this car is probably original. Again, it's 35 years old and 187,000 miles, so it's kind of stuff you got to do. It's not really on everyone's normal maintenance schedules, but when you're there, you might as well do it. All right, give it a little bit of gas. Ooh, yeah. Don't have my vibration anymore, so that was kind of a self-diagnosed issue. The center support bearing was shot. Maybe I'll drop a picture in it. It was just subtle enough. It wasn't banging against the transmission tunnel or anything, but it was just enough that I knew I was potentially causing damage, I guess, by driving it with a little bit of vigor. So I'm glad that it seems to be sorted. All right, a little on ramp. I think this one's kind of twisty, but we'll just for testing purposes, double check that the drive line's tight again. It is also nice to drive a car that's not all-wheel drive. I'm only worrying about one diff, no center diffs, no additional lash. It does make these type of projects a little more enjoyable. Yeah, super smooth. I mean, again, I get annoyed when the luxury car doesn't feel nice to drive. Like, the Land Rover can drive like junk, the trail truck can drive like junk, the F-250 can drive like junk, but stuff like this, you kind of, again, you're not taking it to the track. You want it to do the thing it was supposed to do, and that's really all I'm trying to achieve here, and I think I got it. Yeah, damn, it looks good. That looks good. So I think that's a bit of a happy mission accomplished. Again, I don't really post a whole lot of car updates here recently because I've been trying to just get everything fixed, which is not that interesting from a content standpoint. It's just rolling through the 8 or so cars and just trying to get things to a point where they could be sold, or I'm just kind of happy buying it. I put off a lot of not needed fixes like one does to just keep things running, but now I'm trying to dial it in a little bit more. So what's left for the SEC? Well, it needs a little more sound. The baffles, the kidney baffles in the middle have been removed, but it's still just a raspy. I mean, it's a 5.6 liter V6. I don't need it to roar. I just want something to make it seem like it's a V8, I guess. And then just, little stuff. I don't want to go too crazy with the car. I don't want to kind of supersede its value from what my financial input is into it. But I think it's worth just, getting it dialed in just a little bit more. So I think that might be just it for this video, just kind of a quick update. If you want to see some more SEC content, let me know and bring it to a couple shows this weekend and kind of judge the reaction. Like I said, you don't really see them out all that often, so I think it's a special car, and we'll see what others think. All right, so we're gonna take this thing to a little car show. Kind of a good excuse to get it kind of cleaned up and buff the paint a little bit. Again, this car's been resprayed, and you know, it's presentable. You know, it's got that good 10-footer, but obviously it's not perfect. I think the clear coat might be a little bit dry in places, but I mean, it's very presentable. So yeah, take it on a sprint up the highway, see how she does. But so far, probably put 100 miles on the new spring shock setup, and I'm still happy with it. A couple cars out here this morning. See, unfortunately, this is how the ADD mind works. I was actually doing some real work, and then I decided, you know what would be a great thing to do right now is pull the SLS pump out of the 560 because it's dripping and I've been putting it off for a while. So I'm pulling the SLS pump while negotiating Safari Guard bumpers that are for sale in South Carolina. So I'm not going to videotape this whole thing. I want to get the pump out. Maybe I'll do it from there because it's been documented before, but we're getting into it. Mercedes stuff. I don't know why. It's what? 1 o'clock. So this is where I'm at now, kind of getting to the full rebuild of the pump. The cam and everything actually look pretty good because they don't make this part anymore. Again, this is not a DIY video. I bought the Mercedes Source kit, so just replacing the seals and gaskets. And if you look at these, I mean, they're square. I mean, I literally brittle, square, non-porous, so I'm sure that's probably partially where my issues were coming from. I really just would like it to stop seeping and leaking, so we're getting into it. My ADD really prevents me from concentrating too hard, so I'm kind of proud I've got this far, but in YouTube we trust, and we're gonna carry on and try not to break anything else, because I'm hitting that point where I'm almost successful. And that's the issue with trying to do these type of problems that could potentially stall the car in your garage. It's just like, you don't have the time to really sit down and concentrate, and if something goes wrong, you're pushing it onto a trailer somewhere. So I like to try to... Update, aftermath. Got the SLS pump back in. It's funny, I thought that would be the harder thing to do. It's not. But while I'm here, right, while you're in there, look at this. Look at this, what am I doing with my life? While you're in there, do all the belts. This car has a lot of belts. I forgot there's 2 power steering belts, pulleys. So I only got 1, so we need another one of those, and then we'll get this all buttoned up, just so it can be normal. I'm glad I picked this project today. All right, first started with the new belts. It took way longer than it should have. No massive leaks coming out of that pre-sealed SLS pump. Good. Love new belts. Just gives you a little bit more confidence. They're not 25, 30 years old. No major shakes or wobbles so far, so that's not too bad. But I'm just checking for leaks, and I don't really see any. I mean, this was a huge leak that I was having for a while, so pretty, I don't want to jinx myself, but I haven't nailed it. So we've had a fun couple of days in the Addicted Motors world with the playing with the SEC, doing the SLS pump, all the belts, and kind of like finishing that car from like what I knew it needed from the beginning. And as it sits behind me, I'm very happy with the goals. To just kind of like daily it and make it my car for a little while. I wanted to take it on a longer trip with the family to kind of fulfill that void of an interesting car that represents something I like, that I can actually use and be comfortable for everybody, but still kind of be a coupe. So I think that's going to be it for the Mercedes for now. Obviously there'll be things that pop up when I do the brakes. But you know, the other goal is to use it for some type of road rally type deal. It's the wrong right car for something like that. It's big, it's comfortable, it's not too quick, but it holds all your stuff, and I think will be reliable enough for one of those. It's not what the people want. It's not, you know, an E36 M3. It's not an air-cooled Porsche. It's not a 964, 87 SC G50, blah, blah. But I think it's got its place, and so that's where I'm going to try to slot this thing in. I'm also pretty pissed off that I smacked the handle of the jack into the fender of the 911 while doing the belt tightening. So I've got a little scratch in the fender, maybe a tiny little dent that can get PDR'd out. So that just comes with the territory, really gets my mood in the right place, as well as we filmed the podcast last week and the film dumped. So that's my interesting, non-interesting week in Mercedes, Porsche, car land. It's not all Land Rovers here. I want to do, well, there is some more car things coming. I'm looking for maybe another car. I have too many Land Rovers. I don't know. These are first world problems. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.